A few years ago, you launched your own cosmetics brand, and you've had widespread sales worldwide. Everything was going well, and both employees and investors were satisfied with the company's performance. Until you receive horrifying news. 5 of your customers who had no connection to each other died after using your product. The police conclude that someone contaminated your product, selling it at least in 2 stores, and the victims randomly used the products. The poison was inserted into the product in a way that leaves no trace of damage on the packaging, and there's no way to separate the contaminated products from the others. The products quickly disappear from the shelves of the 2 stores, but there's no trace of the killer, and there's not enough evidence to find them. Meanwhile, your brand's name is plastered across headlines alongside the 5 deaths. Sales have plummeted, and a killer is still at large, posing an urgent need for action on your part. It seems like the killer is trying to destroy your brand's reputation. 3 economic advisors from your team come up with 3 suggestions. Do nothing. The first advisor refers to the law and believes there's no need to collect the products because the perpetrator is someone else, and taking action to collect the products might be seen as admitting fault in the public's mind. Therefore, it's better to do nothing. Collect and destroy products from city-level stores. The second advisor suggests that while fatalities may continue, efforts should be made to preserve the economic interests of investors and minimize the company's losses. Globally collect and destroy all products and consider a more resilient packaging. The third advisor prioritizes consumers, but also proposes severe financial losses to investors and potentially restructuring the company. Which option do you think is the best? Here, there's a dilemma between customer satisfaction and the company's interests, requiring a thoughtful decision from you. Of course, don't forget that by customer benefits, we actually mean their lives. There are some useful tests available to address this question. The first test is the utilitarian test. This test aims to achieve the greatest benefit for the greatest number of people. It refers to a fundamental principle known as the principle of maximizing utility and minimizing harm to all affected parties. This principle states that the ethical goal should be to maximize the overall good for the greatest number of individuals and minimize harm for all those affected by our actions. In summary, this principle tells us that we should make decisions that bring greater good to the general public, while minimizing harm and damage. The second test is commonly known as the family test. It refers to how you explain your decision to your loved ones and whether you can convince those with whom you have emotional relationships. The third test is called the newspaper test, and it simply examines public opinion about your decision. The last test is the mentor test. If these conditions were to occur for someone whose ideas and thoughts you admire, how would you manage it? CEO James Burke of Johnson & Johnson faced exactly this dilemma in 1982. A criminal added cyanide to Tylenol bottles of the company, resulting in the deaths of 7 people in Chicago. The company's sales rapidly declined, and everyone thought that Johnson & Johnson was finished. In this situation, Burke made a bold decision to recall all Tylenol bottles from around the world. Approximately 32 million bottles were destroyed. Only 3 bottles were found to be contaminated with cyanide out of 1.5 million tested, and all were linked to Chicago. The cost of this operation was around $250 million at today's rates. In fact, Burke saved 3 lives with $250 million. This action received extensive media coverage, and in less than a year, all the incurred losses were recovered, and most importantly, consumer trust in the company doubled. James Burke's approach to the issue was truly an ethical one, considering the value of customers' lives to be more significant than money. His decision not only reflected a meaningful choice, but also the most powerful ethical action, even more potent than any advertising campaign. In our example, while the circumstances are somewhat similar, You may not be as successful as Johnson & Johnson, and this event alone could be enough to lead your company into bankruptcy. In reality, there is no clear boundary between right and wrong, and any decision in this regard can lead to unforeseeable consequences.